Hi guys, welcome back to Strike It Big. Today we're joined with Matt Watson, the man behind the #1 car channel on YouTube, CarWow.
7.5 million subscribers, and you're getting, on average, more than 1 million views per video as well, which is unbelievable.
We peaked at like 75 million views in a month, compared to like Baby Shark is nothing. In the car world, it's quite large. Tesla's got to be overvalued. How can Tesla be worth more than Toyota? It can't. It can't. It's not worth more than Toyota.
So Google tells me you're worth a net worth of about £1 million. I guess that's a little light. What's your words on that?
Blimey.
So how does the monetization of the channel work? Does that come directly to you, or do you have a percentage of that?
No.
I'm hoping with the success it's got, because you've got like 7.5 million subscribers, and you're getting, on average, more than 1 million views per video as well, which is unbelievable.
Okay, so it fluctuates a bit. I mean, in the pandemic, we peaked at like 75 million views in a month. We hover between 50 and 16 million views a month. And so originally we didn't even have ads on the videos because we just wanted it to be like for helping consumers and letting them about CarWow. But then we thought we'd better turn on the ads.
Did you find YouTube didn't push it as much about the ads because they're not making money off the back of it?
I've got a theory about that, that they don't, that you're better off having ads in your video.
We think the same thing, but they would never say that, would they?
No, but they don't. When you speak to someone at YouTube, it's like they know less than you.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they hire people specifically. It's almost like when you call centres, and it's just they want to keep you in a holding pattern.
I think they know things in their specific areas, but nobody knows the whole package.
Yeah, and there's also this thing that the algorithm is its own like animal that like evolves itself and it learns itself, and it's all very scary. But yes, basically, my theory is if your content can make more money for YouTube than someone's similar content, it will push you.
Yeah, especially if it's good quality.
Well, that's it, isn't it? So you keep people in the videos for longer on a certain topic than someone else, it will push your content on that topic over someone else.
So how does the revenue split work? Do you have a rev split?
So you get
it is interesting because you are the face of the business in a way.
And we are a finance channel,
okay.
So we're gonna
you're gonna push on this. Yeah. Okay, so I do not get a split of the revenue from the ads. I don't. I get paid a salary, but I also have shares in the company.
Right, that makes sense.
Good.
So that's where the financial incentive is.
Because I was going to say, otherwise you might not be as focused on chasing those views because you don't have an incentive within the business, but obviously you do.
I don't know about that. You see, there's something about it that I don't know whether it's just me, but it's more the fact that you get into just chasing numbers, and it doesn't matter. It's sometimes... I don't know, sometimes money isn't always a reward for people. It's how well received the work or effort you're putting in is that gives you the buzz. And looking at the numbers, I don't know if you have this, that the buzz that I got in the early days when you saw the growth was as exciting or more so than actually trying to maintain at this like high level.
That's true, yeah.
And there's a lot of it is just dopamine hits. Looking at that's gone well, that feels nice, you know. And then,
see, we're more excited about the podcast growth than the actual main channel, which is far bigger.
Yeah,
but it's just exciting having this small thing growing, isn't it? That initial stage.
And it's why, like, you know, you see like entrepreneurs and businessmen, successful businessmen who are like 80, that they go and do a new project, even though it's like, but you're a billionaire. What are you doing? Sit down, enjoy it.
Exactly.
Because it's the new projects that give you the buzz.
It is, yeah. It's growth, it's success, and it's that did better than last time. That did better than last time.
Well, talking about buzz, you get to drive some of the best cars in the world. That is without doubt. So what is A, the fastest car you've ever driven? And B, how fast did you go?
Right. So the fastest I've ever driven in my life is 212 miles an hour. And it was in a Bugatti Chiron.
Wow.
Super Sport, is that the fastest road car in the world?
It's certainly pretty
It's
quick,
a record, but
it
it did over 300 miles an hour, but the customer cars aren't allowed to for some safety reason. But anyway, 212 miles an hour on an Autobahn in the middle of the day, so it was quite busy.
Was everyone looking at you as you went past?
Couldn't see their faces, could you?
You went too fast.
No idea. You're just like hoping that no like little Volkswagen Golf just pops out around a truck into the fast lane. It's pretty scary. And like the braking distances that you're doing there, you're like braking. Something pulls out like 500 meters ahead, you're on the brakes because you're going so quickly. So on the road, Bugatti Chiron. In terms of acceleration, it was a car that I drove yesterday, the fastest I've ever done 0 to 60.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a specialist limited run electric hypercar. I'm not going to reveal what that is, but it's a very special thing.
I think I know what you drove.
What was it? Go on.
Did it have a fan underneath it by any
Might
chance?
have done.
Might have done. Well, we won't reveal it. We'll wait for people to come and see that.
So how come you've focused most of your energy on CarWow versus your personal brand? Because I noticed you are uploading on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so that's actually just a bit of fun. So mainly on CarWow, we do like new cars, like hypercars, drag races and stuff like that. But I also have a soft spot for crappy cars, old cars. Like I'm driving to the airport from here to Gatwick in a Mark 1 BMW X5 that I've just bought for £2,500. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's like the boy from Warsaw just likes a bit of value.
So do you think it's like a palate cleanser? You go in these cars and then for CarWow, you're more impressed when you jump in the supercars?
I don't know. It's just I like value for money. You know, I'm a sucker for the offers in supermarkets. They always get me.
Yeah.
Like I end up buying three things when I only need one thing because you get 3 at a discount. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And they have changed so much, cars, where in the older cars, when you had hydraulic power steering, naturally aspirated engines, they just had a slightly different feel to them. You feel a bit more connected to them. And ultimately, the reason I got into this was because I liked cars. And I like the sensation of driving. And while modern cars have definitely got so much quicker and so much more capable and more comfortable and just better, they're not necessarily more fun. And I think peak car is around the early noughties.
I would go earlier than that because I've got a Mark 1 XR2 that I've just started rebuilding because I love it so much. I've taken it back and it's stripped and it's going to be fully painted. It goes in December for paint, so that'd be quite nice. So while we're on the subject of hot hatches, what's your ultimate best hot hatch of all time?
Okay, so I had a Mark II XR2. I like that, but a Peugeot 205 GTI is a better car.
I see you can get a rebuilt one now, can't you? Like brand new from Lombard, is it?
I don't know that much about those resto mods, but I know they are rather expensive.
Yeah, 45k, I think.
Okay, hot hatch. Spat all that nonsense about about cars from the mid-noughties. I think at the moment the best hot hatch is I've got it. It's a Toyota GR Yaris. I've got one of those.
Very nice.
And I love it.
Yeah,
it's small, compact, fast. And for the roads like British roads, which are a little bit gnarly, bumpy, narrow, it's perfect. And I think you can go as quick as that as you ever need to go.
Yeah,
and probably quicker than you could in some supercars that are going to struggle for traction or be a little bit too wide.
See, on a day-to-day basis, I drive a Fiesta ST for exactly that reason.
That's a good fun car.
It's brilliant, isn't it? What a laugh.
Yeah. You're a Ford guy then, right? Look at you with your Mark 1 XR2. And then
Dad used to race Fords as well.
Yeah,
I
used to race Fiestas all around the country, 1.4s and 2-litre STs as well. So I used to enjoy that. So did you ever race cars?
No. I can picture you now going around roundabouts with like with one wheel in the air, like you bit lift off oversteer.
It's when I had all 4 wheels off the ground. There was a problem going on because I was upside down.
I don't actually do any racing. Don't have a racing license. I do like track days and stuff like that, and I have a bit of tuition to make sure that, for instance, with this C63, I'm going to be on a Ascari racing circuit. I've got to present to camera. I'm probably going to have 5 laps. I've got to try and assess the car, deliver it to camera, and not kill anyone or damage the car. So, I have to have some tuition to make sure that I've got a basic level of skills.
I don't think people realise how hard that is because talking to camera is quite a skill in itself. But then when you've got to do something, you've got to hold a prop and you've got to remember your lines and all the rest of it. There's a lot going on, isn't there? Yeah,
so there is. There's not so much remembering of lines, more the facts. So I don't have a script. So in all the videos, there's no script to it. I just have like bullet point facts. So it comes across as a little bit more natural. It does make it easier as well when you're on an event when you don't know what's going to happen or what you think about the car, that I'm not like welded to a story arc. It's just almost like, here we are together with this car. Let's see what I think about it.
So first, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Public.com. Dad, 100 years ago, when you started investing, what steps did you take to become a better investor?
Well, I used to take tips from the local meat market.
If only you had Public.com back then. Public is an investing platform that not only gives you the information and tools you need to make smarter investments, they also have a built-in optional social feature filled with analysts and notable investors to share their thoughts and help you be a better investor.
Well, that sounds good, but I'm more into index funds than individual stocks.
Oh, I thought you might say that. Well, Public offer ETFs, which is like a bundle of different stocks put together that can help you diversify your investments during economic downturns. And coming soon, Public will have art, collectibles, and more.
Wow, surely it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, you're in for some luck, old man.
Steady, son.
The best part is they've got $0 fees on standard stock trades, and you can get a free stock worth between $3,000 and $1,000 when you invest with the link in the description below.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Back to the podcast. So how much is what you say actually gets into the end video? Like, what's the percentage?
Everything apart from when I fluff my words. The editors might cut out, or I might choose to cut out a section that's like, that was superfluous. I can't even say it. Things like that. So we'll probably cut that out unless I do it about 3 times and it becomes funny, and we'll just leave it in to take the piss out of me.
We'll leave it in.
Yeah, exactly. Superfluous. Yeah. I've got a retainer in, you see. So I trip over that as well.
What would you say is the key to success? I will cut that.
We won't, we'll keep that in.
You've got to keep that in.
What would you say is the key to success with CarWow? Obviously, we talked about like reasonably priced cars and supercars and presenting style. What do you think the key is?
Okay, so when we started the channel, I think some of the other channels that were large were caught a little bit napping. And it's because mainly they had magazines, and so they're focused on magazines, and they did it as a sideline. And then we came in and put a lot of focus into it. And I think it's this blend that we came up with, which is you've got all the information that you get from the Serious Car magazine. So everything you need to know about the car is there, right? So it appeals to people who are car enthusiasts and serious. But then we did it in a light-hearted way. So the idea is that I'm your car expert, mate, and I'm going to show you around this car. I'm going to have a bit of fun while we're doing it. It's not all dead serious. Let's have a bit of a laugh. Like we'd actually talk rather than being some kind of like officious motoring journalist. Got to make it very sensible and worthy. So we had that element, which makes it a bit more accessible. So when people who have a loose interest in cars, or they're researching to buy their next car, and it doesn't want to feel like work, I'm going to have to research, it's like boring, I'm just trying to get the facts. It make it a bit more enjoyable. So people watch it for longer, more likely to watch another video, increases your watch time. And so the algorithm promotes you more. And then we added this other element, which was more on the entertainment side, which includes the drag racing, having a bit of laugh drag racing. And that was the thing that really blew up, really helped elevate the channel to do these Halo drag races, which the most viewed one we've done is, I think it's like 22 million views, which compared to like Baby Shark is nothing. But, in the car world, it's quite large.
Yeah.
And that was a sheer on against a Red Bull Formula One car.
With your work experience, lad.
Yeah, you've seen it with Dave.
With Dave, the work experience.
Come on,
lad.
clean the car, Dave. That's not a very good job, mate.
In actual fact, David Coulthard is one of my all-time favourite F1 drivers.
Yeah.
Very charismatic. I quite like Dave. Very good commentator.
Yeah, he's very good, very clear, and he's really nice to work with, quite humble.
What makes drag racing, though, so popular on YouTube when in reality, certainly in the UK, it's not that popular? We've only got one track, and we Santa Pod, and I think it's Marsden shut down.
We were actually trying to film a drag race between a Tesla and what was the other car? Nissan Skyline. Yeah, and we couldn't find a track to do it on. We had to book an airport somewhere.
What, are you telling me you're a competitor now? Let's shut this down.
It was more about gaining sponsorship and how you gain sponsorship to promote yourself in racing or whatever you want to do.
So we
that
wrapped
was
the
challenge.
Tesla with public.com and then we raced it against another car.
Okay.
So don't worry, we're not coming for you yet.
Okay, so you say, like, there's one track, Santa Pod. But everyone who's got a car has accelerated it hard. And they've, and if you're sort of into cars, you've probably tried to race someone at the lights. Obviously, you're not supposed to, but to get ahead, put your foot down. How does it go?
But that is a start gantry, isn't it? The lights.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And there's also the thing as well. It's like top trumps, isn't it? It's like everyone who's into cars. How much power have I got? How fast is it? is it faster than my mate's car, or is it faster than the car that my mate says is faster than mine? You know, it's all that kind of thing. So it's quite a simple concept. And what you also get is side-by-side racing, which unless it's motorsport, you can't really do. You know, you can time cars around a track, but they're not side-by-side racing. And the way we do it, it's sort of like, it seems like I'm racing like with my co-host or other co-hosts, like it's me against him. But actually, what we really try to do is make the cars perform the best that they can, so that you're actually getting a fair representation of what these cars do. So it's not actually about us as drivers, which motorsport more is. It's once again back to that thing about blending proper car journalism with entertainment to show you these are how, if you get the perfect launches, these how these cars perform.
Well, going back to, obviously, with Red Bull and David Coulthard for that video, how do you get so many cars, firstly, to review, but also these top cars and these top guys to come and do these videos with you?
Okay, so obviously we've got the reach. So we've got the reach. Car manufacturers want to, part of their marketing strategy is to work with journalists to review their products. And because we have a huge reach, they want us to review their product. And that's how we get access to the manufacturer's cars.
You have to be careful about what you say about the cars, because then maybe in the future the manufacturer might not give you the cars that you want.
I think this is a problem that if you're small and you're starting out, you have. Now, because I worked on a major national magazine, I had the relationships with the PRs, so they would lend me the cars. And because I worked on a magazine which had, back in the day when I first started on it, it had like 100,000 issues a week. And so you had the audience, so you could be, you didn't have to kowtow to the PRs. You said what you thought about the car, and that's why you had the readers, because you were honest. And I was able to just transfer that straight across to the YouTube channel, because the PRs knew that I said what I thought. They knew it, and so it's just, that's what Matt does.
And you're probably fair with what you say versus a hater.
Yeah, so one of the things is as well, like, nothing's perfect, right? So we have this thing in our videos where we have 5 bad things about this car and 5 cool things. And at first they're like, I don't like the bad things. I'm like, the things is like the bad things are true, and they also add credibility to the good things. And if I give an overall positive review to your car, then people will believe it, because I've pointed out some negatives. It doesn't sound like I'm just trying to sell you this car, which we had to be very careful with CarWow compared to when I was on Auto Express, because CarWow makes money by people using the site and buying this and selling their car through us. So we need to be completely impartial. Otherwise, people would be looking to go, well, you're just trying to sell this car. I'd seem more like a salesman than if I was working for a traditional magazine.
Sometimes what I like about your 5 bad things is that you'll say, boot space is terrible. It's only 300 litres, for example. But if you compare that with such and such, actually it's bigger. So you almost sort of sandwich the bad news with some good.
yeah. I mean, and that's basically like what I was saying. It's like you're just trying to explain it as it is. And the manufacturers find it hard. They can't really criticise if it's a fact. And the engineers, and they know the weaknesses of their product. And you can, their job is to try and spin that out. But it's very hard for them to argue unless you're making completely inaccurate claims, or you're being unfair, or you're just factually incorrect.
I quite like that comparison, the way you do it like that with another car, because, when you talk about figures, sometimes it's quite hard to compare figures with figures, because you can't really visualize it. But you know how big the boot is in your Mini or whatever you've got. So it's a good comparison. I think it brings it to life. The other obsession you seem to have is storage of Class A's. I see that come up in a few of your videos. Oh, there's a space for your cash.
That does happen sometimes. So once again, that comes back to like chatting with your mate. Like you'd have a bit of a laugh, and I don't know why that is. Maybe that's growing up in Walsall again. I don't know.
It made me chuckle though, and I think that's the comedic part of the videos that I certainly like. It works very, very well.
So and that's once again, it doesn't seem like it's It's an influencer's review of a car because no marketing department would ever sign that off. There's actually a really funny little anecdote from Toyota PR, right? So I did a review of the GR Yaris before I bought it, and I started the video, I mean, this will sound weird, by actually having a wee. So I'm there having a wee in the bushes, and I come. And
What, they're videoing you having a wee?
Yeah. Honestly,
Is that good for watch time?
It seemed to work.
Did it?
It's the most watched video of that car in the world.
It'll be finished in a minute.
Yeah. So I know what you mean, people dropping out. But
Maybe they're like, I've never seen this before. I'm going to carry on watching.
But there was this thing, right? The Toyota PR, because obviously it's run out of Toyota's Japanese, and they have slightly different culture to us. And like they're like, we like Watson Son's video, but why does he have to start it by urinating? This is very disrespectful. And then like Toyota's UK PR have to explain to them, well, he's sort of like what he does. It's how he gets some of the views, and look at the positive things he said about the video. And I think, why did I do that? It's just ridiculous. And some of the things I do, I know are ridiculous, and they make me cringe in retrospect. But there's also an element with YouTube. It's not just about watch time. People want to expect the unexpected. So, I'm going to review a car. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show the boot space, blah, blah, blah. But I might say something or do something that's a little bit like, oh, no, or did he say that?
It kind of brings your attention back to the video as well if you're tuning out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just to make it a little bit more varied or interesting for people who do regularly watch, because car review after car review after car review, it's quite a templated format, really.
Have you ever been asked to take down a video?
Yes.
So what's that story?
Okay.
Have you taken it down though?
No.
There you go.
So it was another Japanese manufacturer, and it was in the UK. I showed a picture of their car for the intro, and I said it looked like a cat having a poo, and then we showed a picture of a cat having a poo, and it was the same colour as the car. Anyway, the MD of that company went crazy, and like, we're going to take it down, we're not going to work with you, we're not going to work with the business. But the CEO was like, no, Matt, operate separately, we can't do that if you decide that you don't want to work with us. I think that's a commercially silly thing to do. Anyway, we didn't take it down. They still worked with us, but they won't work with me. But we translated that into Japanese, and it's the biggest, it's the most watched review of that car.
Well, so after they had an issue with it, then you translated it?
Yeah, we just did that anyway, but that's what we'd have done. Okay. So we carried on with what we'd normally do.
I thought you doubled down.
No, I didn't double down, but we didn't back off. We go, this is what we do. And I was actually, I like this car. I was positive about it. But it's that, once again, that element of what's he going to do at the beginning of the video to hook people in, and that other element that, well, if he says that about it, this is not paid, because he's quite positive about this car, but there's no way that, he's genuine.
So what's the best and the worst cars that you've ever reviewed?
Oh, this is really
the best and the worst.
Worst is harder, because you sort of like get to... manufacturers benchmark against each other, and
is it a gee whiz?
Oh, if you're talking like stuff like that, I mean, things like that, yeah, they're rubbish. So, but I don't class that as a car.
Well,
I'm
that's
thinking,
fair enough.
I don't really class that as a car. What was it?
You can pick it up and put it in your pocket almost, can't you?
Yeah, there was. I can't remember. It was a small Mitsubishi. It was pretty bad. Like, I can't remember that. It was so bad, I've like wiped it from my memory. It was like their version of the Ford Fiesta. That was awful. I didn't much like a Hyundai Kona, whereas the other latest Hyundai I think are brilliant.
Yeah, haven't they turned a corner, haven't they?
Kia and Hyundai, I mean, oh my God. They're building as good, in some cases better cars than Volkswagen. Volkswagen's gone down a bit. Kia and Hyundai are just like...
And Hyundai have just won the British Touring Car Championship this year as well, so I think it all looks good.
Yeah, I mean, and then they've got this Halo brand Genesis, which... it might struggle a bit just because of like badge snobbery. But the cars are actually pretty decent. I remember when I was like in the early days of being a car journalist, like going on a Kia launch, and we'd like review the little Picanto or their first Sorento that they did, and they're pretty agricultural cars, very basic, and they're like going, well, we're planning to be up there with like Volkswagen. So you're like, yeah, right, mate. Yeah, but actually... 10 years later, here they are.
Yeah. So what's the best car?
The best all-round car, I think.
Yeah.
It's not really a family car. I should pick a family car. Best all-round car is a Porsche 911.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
If I wasn't doing this job, I'd have a Porsche 911. I'd probably need another car as well.
But it's still a good everyday car, isn't it, Porsches? They're very reliable, aren't they?
They're so well made. They're comfortable enough. They're fun.
Yeah.
They don't, they've got back seats which are usable if you want to torture someone. But
Well, it depends what version you got, because you could have scaffolding in the back, couldn't you?
if you go for if you go for a
GT.
GT car, you could have a roll cage. But I'm just talking normal entry level 911 is such a good all round car, and I think if I didn't do this job, that is the car that I would have.
So if Top Gear asked you to be a presenter,
Yes.
what would your answer be to
Yeah,
them?
of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I thought maybe it'd be too small fry for what you're doing now.
No, it's still the thing, isn't it? Right, but it's not.
It's not what it was though, but maybe you could bring it back to that stage.
Well, is it what it was? See,
No, it definitely
actually,
isn't.
I actually enjoy it now. I mean, I worked on the last series of Top Gear when Clarkson and Hammond and May were on. And no disrespect to them, because they've done a fantastic job, but I thought it lost its way. Okay, it went in the wilderness for a while, but I think it's found its way again, personally.
Do you know what? I don't watch it. I don't
Really?
watch any telly.
Did you used to watch it back in the day?
I used to watch it like in the early Clarkson Hammond days. And then, but towards the end of that, I stopped watching it just because I was then starting to do, more car review myself, and I was a bit more focused on that. But I did learn a lot from them, and like Clarkson was like my hero. That's sort of the reason why I got into this, like Jeremy Clarkson, and the way he did that thing of, I'm going to tell you about a car, but I'm going to make it fun. And he was the first one to do that, like in old Top Gear.
I think towards the end it became too much about them rather than the cars. And that's why I lost it a bit.
I think it's like with everything, right? It ran for so long. You think about how many seasons that ran for. It's very hard. Yeah. And even with stuff on YouTube, you see it, the algorithm wants to cycle people, or people, you must have, when you're watching things on TikTok or YouTube, there's certain channels that you're watching and you're watching them all the time. And then you just, think, I used to watch that and I haven't watched it so much. And I think that's what happened with them, they, you start to run out of ideas, or you're having to keep on escalating, aren't you? Because you've got to do something slightly better than last time.
Yeah.
And it's the same with James Bond movies in a way. It's got to get more and more extreme, and and I think that's what happened to them. So this change seems to, in terms of viewer figures, has done the job.
Yeah, it's been very good. I think with Jeremy, obviously he's a very intelligent guy and he understands his cars. I think he understands a hell of a lot more than what people give him credit for. But I think he dumbs himself down now a little bit too far, and they all joke him being the monkey and all the rest of it, which I don't think he is. Do you?
God, no. It's so clever. It's all very well thought out.
Yeah.
And I know that the script writer, who's Richard Porter, who's a script writer on Top Gear and the Grand Tour, and the kind of work that goes into those scripts, loads, and like refined again, which is very different to what we do. Like on YouTube, it's much more just shoot some stuff and see what happens, and really bad stuff just cut it out. But most of it goes in because you want video of a certain length.
I think they're masters at making it like you don't think they're on a script,
yeah,
but they're actually just interacting.
I think it got more and more like that, and there's certain elements where you see where it's less scripted, and it's like, wow, that's gold. But I've done a few TV shows, and the budgets that are involved, and the time frame that you've got to shoot stuff. You've got to nail it. You've got to have your story working. Whereas YouTube, you don't have that. There's more freedom, and they've got to think about like the quality of their shots and their angles and stuff. Whereas I've noticed this on YouTube. I've seen car channels that have tried to do like cinematic things and big Top Gear stuff. People watch vertical on their phones. I watch vertical. I don't even turn it that way. And
so you're not getting the full benefit.
So you're not getting the full benefit. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sure that there are other channels that really have like built their, like for instance, Casey Neistat was someone who like built it on like this cinematic experience. But generally, it's more about the content.
Yeah, but I think even with Casey, it wasn't the drone shots and all the pretty things that he did.
Stuff.
It was, and that's what people thought they liked, but they couldn't put their finger on what actually was the special thing about his content. So I think that's what you've got as well.
We both love Casey, don't we?
Yeah.
Very much so. So where's the craziest place that you've driven a car?
So I've driven reviewed a car in the Atacama Desert in Chile. I've been driving through Namibia. I think I've driven a car underground in a tunnel.
That's got to be pretty cool because that's got to be a speed rush, isn't it, going through those tunnels?
Yeah, but it was like a deep underground. It was for Auto Express actually, like a deep underground tunnel. I can't remember, honestly, my memory's so bad. I basically just like churned through all these like different cars and locations, and it's just I remember that. I flew out to the Falkland Islands to review a Citroen Berlingo, which was weird.
Why to there?
So obviously the MOD used to use Land Rovers for everything, and so they'd use like Land Rover Defenders for like just transporting stuff around the Mount Pleasant Air Base in the Falkland Islands, which is a big waste of money because they're quite expensive to run. So one of the procurement officers decided, why don't we save some money and just buy some Citroen Berlingos to whiz around the base? Citroen like, oh, this is good. We're working with the MOD. Can we get some publicity on this? And just sent me out to go and cover it. And it was quite an eye-opener spending some time on the Falkland Islands with the British Army. Oh dear, I've never had a hangover like it. It was completely crazy.
Well, there's not a lot else to do down there,
There's not a lot else to do.
Watch the penguins and drink.
Yeah, and I saw penguins. One of the most amazing things actually was when we were flying back. So we're flying back and we're in this old Boeing 747. And all of a sudden, the plane goes like this. I'm not halfway into the plane goes like this. Oh my God, what's happening?
Well, you hadn't hit a penguin, I know that.
No, sucked a penguin into the
That'd be
engine.
some bird strike, that, wouldn't it?
And everyone was like, I opened my eyes and like the plane was tilted a bit like that because everyone was over the right-hand side of the plane, like looking out the windows. And on the tip of the wing, almost touching it, was a tornado upside down like that.
Oh, wow.
And then he went to the other side, then the other side was messing around and then gave it that and buggered off.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it?
And I got some great photos on my phone, but it was back in, I don't know, like the mid-noughties when I had 1.5 megapixels or something. But it's an amazing photo.
I noticed you drove recently in the snowdome.
Oh, yeah.
That was very interesting. So tell us a bit about that.
And how did you get permission to do something like that?
Money. Yeah, so basically, I wanted to show the difference between winter tyres and summer tyres this time of year.
A lot of people don't know this, do they? Because I've had experience of winter tyre usage because we used to have to go to Nuremberg every year with my business. And if you have an accident out there in the winter and you haven't got winter tyres on, it's your fault.
But having experienced winter tyres and summer tyres in snow or bad weather, you now know that it is your fault, isn't it?
It is,
because the difference is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what this video was designed to show, but we wanted to make it a bit more fun. So we were drag racing Audi R8. I think we had a rear-wheel drive one versus a four-wheel drive one, trying to drag race them at the ski slope in Tamworth. And then, so we drag race them with summer tyres on, then we put winter tyres on the rear-wheel drive car. And most people think, well, four-wheel drive car, that's going to beat a blooming rear-wheel drive car. No. The four-wheel drive car went nowhere, and the rear-wheel drive went up the hill, and then we did it with them both on winter tyres.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I went to Germany, again, was for that show, just to visit it, and I remember remarking that why they buy all these dear BMWs and Mercedes, and they've got steel wheels, they look so bad.
Yeah.
And of course, they use the steel wheels for the winter tyres, and then in the summer, the nice wheels come back on with the nice tyres.
That's right, and that is one of the problems that we have in the UK about getting winter tyres, because a lot of people do the maths and look, well, I'm going to have two sets of tyres, and when am I going to store these spare tyres, or I'm going to have to switch them over if the sizes are right, and it just becomes a cost thing, and people are like, how many days of the year am I going to use it? And a lot of people also just think about winter tyres for, I need it in snow, really, that's the only time I need it. So what's it, 4 days a year, 5 days a year?
Yeah, but it's the cold as well, isn't it? Because the normal summer rubber goes so hard in the winter, whereas the winter tyres retain that softness.
Now, if we were filming a CarWow video, I'd have raised my eyebrow at you when you said that.
Go on.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think I did a piece for Auto Express where I compared the braking effect in the wet of summer tyres compared to winter tyres, and I think it was sub 7 degrees. And in the wet, braking, no snow, but I think it was about 6 degrees. The winter tyres perform much better at braking in the wet because, exactly as you say, the rubber stays softer, so it's got more grip.
Yeah, I left mine on one year through the summer because
Yeah.
I wasn't using the van very much. And we went out on quite a warm day and it felt like I was driving in treacle.
Yeah, and it's quite fun. Actually, do you know what? Sometimes it can be fun driving a performance car in summer on winter tires because the tread blocks, they've got like these little cuts through them
That's
called
it, and they
sights.
move around a
And they
lot.
move around. So you get this sensation of the car moving around beneath you, which if you like racing or rallying or
Yeah.
something like that, it gives you this sort of like feel of what that's like.
Yeah,
Not so good when you have to do some hard braking, but yeah, it can be fun.
It's like when you're drifting your Sprinter van round a roundabout. It looks quite cool.
Is that why you went for the Sprinter, because it's rear wheel drive?
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
okay.
got it.
So, do you think you live so fast that you forget to take it in? And I think that's a common issue for a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah, I mean, it's constant. You're constantly on your phone, constantly checking numbers, constantly thinking about content to post. And
And when you're doing all these cool things, you're thinking about the video only and not about the actual experience.
that is, you nailed it there. It's really odd. The reason I'm invited there is because I'm going to do a video with numbers. So that's my job, right? And it is a shame because they fly to a beautiful location. But I'm going to be busy thinking, how long am I going to get with the car? I've got to assess it correctly. Have I got these figures correct? What other opportunities can I film with it to make it even more exciting? How am I going to do Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well? Rather than just thinking, oh, this is a nice car. Oh, this is a lovely location. Oh, the hotel's very nice. We get sent to these nice hotels, but you have no time to actually enjoy them. I'm sure everyone's like going, yeah, dry your eyes, Matt. It's still very good. I used to be a chartered accountant, and
That's a conversation
yeah,
stopper, isn't
it
it?
is. And I tell you
From
what,
accountant to car reviewer,
exactly.
it's crazy.
I'm not going back to that. It's not, it's not that bad.
So how did you secure the best job in the world?
So I knew accountancy wasn't for me. When I almost got fired for playing hide and seek on a consolidation audit because I was so bored and
Really?
playing hide and seek. And the FD of the company came back to because he'd left something in his office, and he opened the door and I came out of one of his cupboards. And I said, I got away with it because he was quite a light-eyed bloke. And I said, we leave no stone unturned. And he found it funny. But he said, I could have got you fired for that. And I just thought, I've got to stop this because this is,
Yeah, just a bit too playful for an
Too
accountant.
playful.
Yeah.
And then one of my mates that I was working with, his wife was an editor of a local newspaper, and she was the only person I'd ever spoken to who talked about her job with any passion. Like my parents were teachers, and like other people we knew like worked in offices and in business, but no one really, they went to work. You go to work, Matt. You go earn some money to pay the bills. Blah 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 blah. And she was the only person that spoke about their job with any enthusiasm. And I thought, do you know what? I like asking questions. I like finding out about stuff. I like telling a story. I'm going to try that. So I qualified as a chartered accountant, quit my job immediately, and went and worked on a local evening newspaper for about a quarter of the money. And my dad was like, because I was working for one of the big five. I worked for PwC. And he's like, yeah.
So it's not
Because
all
I
about
don't-
money.
Yeah, you don't want to be bored the rest of your life, do you? You sometimes need to make that jump into something that you're dedicated to and you enjoy.
Yeah. And I think as well, you're going to do better at something you're interested in. You're right. You're going to be better at it. See,
100%.
some people are actually good at controlling themselves and doing something they don't like. And I'm not that kind of person. I can't sit still. I have to be interested in something. Otherwise, it just goes over my head. The school reports kind of show that like the things that I was interested in, like I get A's, and other things, it was like, yeah, Matt's not going to university.
So what, do you think you have ADHD or dyslexia or something?
No, I don't know. Everyone has labels these days.
Yeah.
I'm just quite active.
So obviously you create a lot of content. How many people do you have on your team to help you with this?
Yeah, and
Team.
also how much control do you have over the final product?
Complete control. So I used to go through it with a fine tooth comb, go through the edits, and I basically would like lay out, this is what the edits look like. I don't do that anymore. We've got a good team that does that, and we have a format. So it's like, this is what we do. This is the CarWow way of doing a video. But let's say if I was to go online and see this video's going out today, I don't like it, it wouldn't go out. I'm chief content officer, so ultimately, the buck stops with me. I've got a really good team, and the team, it's a little bit for YouTube. It's a little bit blurred because we have people working across the website, working across the social media channels, but it's fairly big. It's over 20.
So what's your opinion on electric cars? Because I first found your channel when I was buying my Tesla and kind of when you're racing them against the different models.
I like electric cars for certain situations.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people and how a lot of people drive, they're brilliant. The problem that I have is that this government directive saying, right, all cars got to be electric by X, Y, Z, because it's not necessarily the best way. Because if you're going to be doing long miles, lots and lots of diesel's still the way to go. Now, people don't want diesel because of Dieselgate and stuff like that, but actually, depending on the application, that's the right thing. The diesel car is the right thing. Also, for general fun and like for what I like, hooning a car about on a track, electric car can't touch an internal combustion engine car. Revving it out, they're generally lighter. The balance of the car as well, and the way you can play with the balance rather than like the skateboard design of electric car, which is you just got weight low down and it's quite heavy. So they're not so good for that. But for a lot of people who just like nipping to the shops, doing like an average commute, which is what, like if most people do 30 miles a day. Electric cars are brilliant. You don't have to go to the petrol station. If you've got a place you can charge it, if you haven't, they're rubbish. But if you have, just plug it in at home like your phone. It's, I'm one of the things, I've got quite a few cars and I've got mechanical sympathy, and I hate starting my car up for a short journey because it heat cycle the engine. Whereas an electric car, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine.
So can a car lover actually like an electric car?
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that. Can a petrol head truly love electric cars?
So a petrol head isn't necessarily into cars just because of petrol. They like cars, and a lot of the elements of electric cars they can enjoy. They can still enjoy. What they'll miss out on is the noise. They'll also miss out on the character of the engine. Because one of the things that I noticed with electric cars is basically they all feel the same pretty much if you have the same power to weight ratio. Whereas a BMW engine feels different to a Mercedes engine, feels different to a Porsche engine. And that's the thing that's going to be interesting, is how these manufacturers differentiate their products, when a big part of what made a car emotional was the character of its propulsion system, one compared to another. Like some people, I like low down torque, whereas I like to like rev it up. Now it might be that they program the car in such a way that it delivers low down torque, or it pulls a bit. It releases more and more power. I mean, Ferrari already do this with their V8. They limit the torque in the first few gears so it feels more revvy than it actually otherwise would be.
So building on that, what's your opinion of the best electric car on the market at the moment?
And we're talking sort of 30k band, 60k band,
It's easy.
100k band.
Okay, so what I think is the best electric car on the market right now is a new MG4.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tesla Model 3.
That's interesting because it looks good as well.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Rear wheel drive. Actually fun.
Yeah.
Actually fun. Roundabouts and stuff like that. With that torque out of a roundabout. It's good fun to drive. It's well made. It's got decent tech. I mean, they've come along and it's way better than a Volkswagen ID3. There's no way I'd have an ID3 over the MG, which is cheaper.
How about the charging stations? Because obviously Tesla has all the infrastructure.
Yeah. How often do you use a supercharger?
Quite a lot actually. So when I was coming here, like we charged up with the supercharger. It's like when I'm doing longer journeys, because my girlfriend lives in Bath, so it takes me a while to get there. So yeah, probably every weekend.
Okay, so I've had a Tesla, and you do use it if you're doing long journeys. But for what I do, I could run an electric car, but I don't, because you got to stop still, and I can fill it with diesel or petrol in the fraction of the time that you do with Tesla. Now, it might suit your lifestyle that I'm going to do some emails and stuff like that.
Exactly. This is what me and Kyle were having this discussion actually. And he's like, oh, you just pretend to like it. I was like, no, I actually quite like just stopping after a couple of hours, 3 hours driving, and just go and get a drink and something to eat, and my car's charged.
I think once you've got a range of 300 plus miles,
it's okay.
You are going to stop at some point on a 300-mile trip, aren't you? And you're going to have a cup of coffee or do something. So you've got time to charge. That's why we think Tesla is.
I often charge longer than I need to, just because I want to just chill for a bit. So I don't mind it, but I'm not making that up.
There is something interesting about electric cars, that there is a weird element of fun in in the charging stuff and being like really efficient with that, because sometimes you can do more stops and it's quicker because obviously the less charge you've got in your battery, and as long as you like heated it up beforehand, that you can actually be quite efficient with your charging. So you get that kind of science, that kind of bit of fun, which is something you never have really with the petrol and diesel, where you're like, I'll just fill it up, like I'll fill it up a quarter of the way, and then I'll stop again. You're never going to do that.
Well, the only fun you have with a diesel filling it up or a petrol is, can I stop it dead on the amount?
That's it, yeah.
That's getting harder and harder.
I was going to say, now it used to be quite easy. You could just not now. You have to have the reactions of a striking cobra, don't you? It's just
I know you like charging more often, don't you?
Well, when you get to 20% and it's 20 to like 60%, that's really fast. And then past that,
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Whereas I like to sort of drag out the economy as much as I can when I'm driving it, and then go for the long charge.
Yeah, so go for the long charge. Yeah. So there is this, but once again, that does take a little bit of brain power. Where sometimes you just want to jump in your car. I've got to be there. You're actually having to think about, your charging, what you're going to do. So it is hard. Let's not mess around. It's more difficult, isn't it?
It is more difficult.
It is. But then there are the rewards that just generally driving an electric car, especially around town, is nicer.
And you're always leaving with a full tank. And I think that's what people forget. If you are charging at home, you've always got a full tank of juice in your car. So it's not like where you normally go and go, oh, I've got to stop for fuel.
Yeah.
Fill it up and then go home.
Yeah.
You are always leaving with a full tank. So if that range is 200 miles, how many people do 200 miles on a daily basis?
Don't. Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because how many times you're supposed to go to an appointment, oh God, right, okay, I need to fill up, I'm going to be a little bit late, am I going to...
It doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
So do you want to ask the big question that has split car lovers?
There is one question that has split car enthusiasts for years. It's the holy grail of car questions, and I really hope today you can nail this one for us, because it's really important to all car lovers out there.
Okay.
Ferrari or Lambo?
Porsche.
You can't go Porsche.
No, definitely Porsche every single time.
So what are the reasons behind that versus a Ferrari or a Lambo?
Because easier to live with, gives the same kind of performance. It's going to be more reliable, less expensive to fix when it goes wrong. Just, honestly, I just think Porsche is such a great brand. The products that they make are so good, and I'm not paid by them. I just think they're really good all-round cars, and they give you pretty much all the performance and fun of a Ferrari for less money, and they're not quite so ostentatious, and they're more usable.
And you do a better German accent than an Italian one.
I can't do an Italian accent, and I can't really do a German accent. It's like something off Hello Hello, isn't it?
I know. So Google tells me you're worth a net worth of about £1 million. I guess that's a little light. What's your words on
Blimey.
Is it wrong or is it right?
I don't know. It's not going to be loads more, and it's not going to be loads less.
that? Okay, slightly
so
north then.
What's your net worth?
I never divulge it.
You can't do that. And yours?
It's probably around $1 million or so.
It's a very British thing not to talk about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's very bad for you to ask that question and never divulge it yourself. I think you should just come clean and go, this is it for me.
I think
Well,
it's,
we divulged earnings,
Yeah.
but not necessarily net worth, and that's
Yeah.
because my mum doesn't like Dad talking about that, whereas I can talk about that. And
Okay, what's your earnings then?
Well, earnings-wise from all of the businesses?
Everything, yeah.
My earnings average probably about 50k a month.
Okay, that's good.
the boy's done good.
How about you then? I'll throw the question back at you.
I'm going to take his view. My missus doesn't let me divulge it.
Fair enough.
We always think it's not rude to ask the question. It's rude to expect an answer.
Okay, good.
And that's fine.
Are there any other businesses outside of YouTube that you're starting? I know you got the personal brand, you got CarWow. It seems like your life is pretty busy already.
Yeah, so social media just like takes up a lot of the time. Obviously, I do a few bits of sponsor posts on my personal, like Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. So, but doing 5 or 6 videos a week takes a lot of my time. I mean, you were like saying that you have different businesses. I mean, that's a good way to do it. But then you've got so many plates spinning, haven't you? It's quite difficult to move on from one to the other and then to the other.
So do you think it's more important to focus all your energy if someone's watching this on one or two passion projects versus trying to do everything at once?
It depends on who you are. Some people are really good, like for instance, Yanni, who's in the drag races. I mean, he's got fingers in so many pies, whereas I'm more focused. And obviously, there's like this, the investment in CarWow business itself.
I think we reached out to him actually, but he has contracts with the BBC, so
Okay.
it makes it hard for him to go on shows
okay,
like this. But if he's watching, we would love to have him on.
So do you dabble in investing at all? And if
Okay,
to build generational wealth, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I do, but I'm very, very basic about it.
There's nothing wrong with basic as long as you're in there.
So my theory is I haven't got the time, I haven't got the knowledge. I'm not Warren Buffett. I'm just an index tracker kind of guy in different markets, just to like diversify, you know. So I'll do S&P 500, which is tanking. I've done obviously the FTSE for a long time now, and that's since I think it's about where it was before Lehman Brothers crashed.
It's a long-term game, and
but it hasn't really moved. I mean, it's moved like that, but it's been pretty flat. I do so in Japan, and that was picking up, but then again, it's like flattening. Yeah, so I don't know enough about it, but what I do know is that generally, if someone's winning in the market, someone's going to be losing in the market, surely. And so if you factor in the cost of trades or a managed fund, that's going to eat into any kind of growth. And so you're gambling that you're going to be on the winning side.
Yeah.
On average, you're going to follow the market. Then if you put in the high commission cost for managed funds, that's going to take you below that line. So I just went for the cheapest. Once again, it's the Warsaw thing. Just go for the cheapest and go with the index trackers.
Did you ever dabble any crypto at all in the bull run?
I was tempted. I was also tempted with Tesla shares because I thought I knew a bit about that. But I'm also quite realistic that when you see these gains, I mean, I knew that like the S&P was going crazy. It's got to come down because it's all built on the back of the tech firms. And there's like this big tech bubble going crazy, especially during COVID, knowing that Tesla's got to be overvalued. How can Tesla be worth more than Toyota? It can't. It can't. It's not worth more than Toyota.
Yeah. Wasn't it like every car company combined? That was what it was worth. It's just crazy.
It's just not. It's not.
But Tesla isn't priced purely as a car company. It's priced as a technology car company that also makes cars. So obviously they're selling that technology as well. So it's a little bit different to most car companies.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, still overvalued.
And still
I think it proved that.
But isn't SpaceX is separate? It's not owned by Tesla. So when you have shares in Tesla, you have shares in Tesla, the car manufacturer.
Well, and technology-based business, because obviously obviously other car companies are now starting to do this. But the fact that you can buy downloads to make your car better, it's already installed on your car. It costs them nothing, and there's obviously revenue being created like that.
They've got all the cameras as well, tracking all the data from those years of going on the motorways with the self-driving. And then they obviously sell that on.
So there's a lot more tech to Tesla than just a car builder. So that's why it's valued so much more, I think.
Okay.
And there's hype around.
And there's Elon.
I think it's Elon and hype. I think the majority of the price is Elon and hype, because even if you take all of that into account, can it be worth more than all the car companies? And can it even on its own be worth more than Toyota?
Isn't it amazing that they're the only car company since, I don't think was it Ford or whatever it was have started that's actually continued?
That hasn't gone bust.
Yeah, that hasn't gone bust, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're one of the only, two, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's
Ford
one of
and
two.
Tesla are the only ones that haven't gone bust.
Really? So Mercedes went bust? And
Apparently, yeah.
Or in
That's what we
America,
heard.
we may well be
Okay.
talking here, yeah.
Right.
Eventually at some
Obviously,
point.
you've got GM and various others that have all come and gone or been rescued or whatever it is. So it's quite an amazing stat. It's very difficult for a car company to survive in America.
Yeah, but it's still young though, isn't it?
It is.
You know, Ford, that's been around a long time.
I do like my Fords.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see where we are with Tesla. The problem with Tesla, they had a massive lead, right? And what Elon did, or Tesla did, is really change the game and gave the mainstream manufacturers a kick up the bum.
And I think that's what he wanted to do as well. He wants to see more electric cars. Well, that's what he says anyway.
He wants to make money. Blue ticks on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. My blue tick's disappeared.
Has it?
Yeah. Am I buying a blue tick? No. Because what's the point? What does it mean? It just means I paid it's like having a little tick because I pay for Netflix subscription. It's nonsense. And yeah, I used to be a big Elon fan, and I'm not so sure now.
So why are you not a big Elon fan?
No, I think he's great and he's done a lot, but I think a lot of the I don't know. I'm not sure where we're going to be in 10 years and where he's going to be.
Yeah, he was pumping Dogecoin, all those coins, wasn't he? And if you think one tweet can do that and make so many people rich and lose their money as well.
And he's done that with Tesla. He's done that with Tesla. He has he has done things which has inflated the share price, which if other people might have done, could have got them in a lot of trouble. He's a bit Teflon-y at the moment. But yeah, you can't, he is inspirational, visionary, but also,
he's like the biggest financial influencer in the world, isn't he? He could do anything with a tweet.
But I don't know whether it might all come crashing down.
Well, I think he's the Edison of our timeline anyway, that's for sure.
What do you think? Do you think that he might come unstuck at some point? Or is that just the British?
I think everyone comes unstuck to a certain degree at some point, but I think he will continue. He's very diversified. I think he's been through his stickiest times. I mean, SpaceX was a launch away from dying. I think Tesla was probably a bit of money away from dying, which he's pumped in, hasn't he? Which is amazing. So I think he's had his sticky times, and I think it will be growth. Whether it will be growth in stock price, I don't know, but certainly I think he's on the highway to doing very, very well.
What do you think about things like Hyperloop and stuff like that? Because he does quite a lot of things, and like we're talking about, like the solar roofs, which. Like he did a demonstration with these solar roofs, and they weren't. He had to go and say, actually, what we showed there were just like they weren't real. So he's done quite a lot of these projects that we're going to be doing. Done quite a lot of projects that then just disappear. And there's quite a lot. One thing that I've noticed with car manufacturers is that, let's say Toyota says we're going to do this, this happens. Whereas Elon does a lot of, there's clips of him going like 2017, in this time next year, Tesla's full self-driving.
Yeah, and the Roadster's going to come out, and the Roadster's doesn't come out.
Where are all these products, which obviously that inflates the share price? Oh, look at this! This is amazing. Tesla Roadster, it's $100,000, and it'll beat any like Bugatti Chiron. The Cybertruck, oh man, that's amazing. Oh, the Tesla Model 3, it's going to drive itself, and then there's the whole thing that you'll be able to have a Tesla Model 3 taxi or whatever, and you'll be able to just basically it'll just make money for everybody.
Yeah, the robo-taxi.
And
it's not here yet.
I think you'll find that most car manufacturers go down a concept route. It's just the fact, because Tesla hasn't been here as long, when, let's say, for example, Toyota bring out a concept car, as a journalist, and I know as a layperson, I look at it and go, whoa, look at that. But that actually won't work because of X, Y, Z. And it is a concept car.
But they don't say it's coming. They don't go, this is coming next. They don't say it's coming next year. They don't. They go, this is a concept.
Maybe he needs to rely on that marketing to boost the share price. I think you've got it now on the head. Maybe it's like the boy that cried wolf. How many times will people believe it?
I know. Although, once again, I am a big admirer of him, what he's done.
And he doesn't buy advertising, does he, for Teslas? I mean, when do you see an advert for Tesla? You don't. He is his own advertisement for his own brand.
And it's crazy. And what they did is amazing. And the cars, like Model 3, I still think it's one of the very best electric cars.
Yeah, that's handy, isn't it?
The Koreans
two of them.
The Koreans have come in and done a great job. I'm not. It's very close between those now. But yeah, with the charging infrastructure that you said is handy. It really is.
100%.
The build quality, though, that's the only thing.
Yeah,
but it's not terrible. But it's
much better than it was in the early days. Yeah. I think I jumped on at the right time.
I think also the problem with build quality, because people always come back to that, is because they look at it as a £60,000 vehicle and then compare it with a £60,000 petrol BMW.
Yeah.
And that's not a fair comparison, because obviously 20 to 30 grand of that amount you spent is in the battery package within that car. Whereas when you're buying a BMW or a Mercedes, it's not. It's just not there. So the build quality, the extra 20 grand you're you're paying is for that extra quality. So I think sometimes it's not a right comparison.
So what you do, like if you compare Tesla Model 3 to the BMW i4, which will be their version,
Yeah.
the BMW is quite a lot more expensive. And the amount of kit that you get as standard on the Tesla, I mean, there's basically no options apart from like upgrading your sat nav, so it's like satellite and
Yeah, and you can upgrade the speed as well, but that's all downloadable.
yeah.
So
And you can turn it on and off as
exactly.
you want. But generally, the equipment that you get on the Tesla is very good, and the BMW you're having to pay more and more and more for. But I think as the Germans get more into building the cars, the gap's gonna narrow. One thing that I spoke to an engineer of one of the German car companies, and I was like, "Why are your cars so much heavier than Teslas? You know, similar battery pack. What's going on?" And basically, one of the benefits that Tesla had is that they started with a blank sheet of paper, so they could. It's a bit like evolution, you know. We've got like a blind spot in our eye and stuff like. There's things that if you were designing a human from scratch, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't have an appendix, for instance, and stuff like that. And it's a bit like that with the car companies. That like the traditional car companies want to use bits that are already in their organisation, like control units. So they end up having more wiring. They have more control units. Whereas Tesla goes, well, we don't need all those because we haven't already got deals with suppliers on them. What do we want? How do we want to do it? And as a result, that's one of the reasons why their cars were lighter. So a Tesla Model 3 is like, I think it's like 1,800 kilos, whereas the equivalent BMW would be like 2 tons or something.
When is enough? Enough.
Oh, it's never enough, is it?
I don't know, is it?
No.
in terms of money or views, or because you don't seem motivated by money.
I am a bit, but I'm not the best businessman.
Right. Okay.
But you're always it's like we talked about earlier, you know, like 8-year-olds who've like got billions and then they still do this other project. You want to keep yourself busy. You want to be engaged. You want to do something that's interesting to you. And so at the moment, doing this is interesting to me still, even after like doing it since 2016. This CarWow channel, it's it's still very interesting going off and driving this new car. And this is one of the benefits of the thing that I do is you have YouTubers that create content just purely from their own head, and it's quite hard for them to constantly come up with concepts. Whereas I basically just, the manufacturer comes up with a product and I go and try it out and tell people about it. And I'm interested in cars, so I guess as long as they're still making cars, I'm going to find that interesting. And
So you've got content forever.
Yeah.
It's a good position to be in. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm, and we will see you next Friday with a brand new podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
See you later.